You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 159 with Russ Perry. And today, amongst other things, we're talking about creativity and sobriety.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
Aloha, Men of Abundance. I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community. What is going on in your world today? You know, I always ask that question, or usually ask that question, and I realize I'm asking it into a mic right now and hoping there's somebody out there listening. And I know there are because I get a few responses now and again, but if you have not had the chance to respond and tell us what amazing things are going on in your world or what screwed up things are going on in your world that you may need a little bit of help with, I would absolutely love to hear back from you and hear what's going on in your world. And the best way for you to do that right now is to go to menofabundance.com/members, or just click on the members tab at the top of any of the pages at menofabundance.com. That will get you access to our closed Facebook group where we can have these a little bit more private conversations. And if that doesn't do it for you, if you're not really into Facebook or you just really don't want to share your private information on Facebook, I totally get it. If that is the case, you might be a perfect candidate for either my one-on-one coaching or my small group coaching. To see if you are, it's very simple. All you have to do is go to menofabundance.com, click on the coaching link at the top of any one of the pages, and request a call. Just fill out that short form, request a call, and if you and I do end up getting on the call together, it's going to be completely non-salesy. I'm just going to have a conversation with you. We're going to have a very candid conversation about what it is that you share on that form. And by the end of the call, you and I should definitely know if we will be able to work together. Again, if you want to be considered for either my one-on-one coaching or small group coaching in living a life of abundance in family, faith, finances, and fitness, then go to menofabundance.com, click on the coaching tab, and fill out that form to request a call. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our featured guest today is Russ Perry. Now, we do get into a little bit about his business because I really dig how he's running his business and what he's doing with it. And we're going to get into more of that in just a minute, and I'll share some of that here in the bio. But we also talk about his sobriety. We talk about his kick in the gut moment that involved alcohol, and we talk about other addictions. So this is a very deep conversation for many of you. It's a very personal conversation for many of you, and it's one to definitely listen to and share with others. So make sure you share this episode and all other episodes of Men of Abundance with those that you truly care about. So our featured guest today, Russ Perry, disrupted the graphic design business with Design Pickle in 2015, a multi-million-dollar flat-rate design company, all while managing an active life as a husband and a father to his 3 young girls. Prior to the pickle, Russ battled addiction to both alcohol and a failing creative agency. Russ's journey to sobriety is one full of challenges and successes that he loves to share with others to help them find their way. Design Pickle helps thousands of businesses improve their creativity with the #1 flat-rate graphic design service in the world, featuring unlimited requests, unlimited revisions, and a dedicated designer. Men of Abundance, it is my honor to introduce you to Russ Perry. Russ, welcome to Men of Abundance, brother. How you doing?
It's early for me. I'm good. I know it's a lot earlier for you, though, so excited to be here.
It is indeed, but I'm glad to be here as well, man. Where are you at in the world?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Beautiful place. I dig Scottsdale. As we were talking during the pre-show, I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, born at St. Joseph's Hospital down there, and joined the military when I was almost 21, just right at 20, and been back a few times throughout the years, but don't really. My brother's always like, "When are you coming back home to stay?" I'm not living back in Phoenix, bro. I've been to too many other places around the world.
Well, let me just put a vote in for Scottsdale, not Phoenix. When you do come back, come up over here, this side of town. It's a little more relaxed, a little more resort style, a lot more to do.
Agreed. And I always thought, if I did go back to the Phoenix area, it'd probably be, Chandler, maybe Gilbert area. But there's so many different suburbs out. The thing I like about Phoenix is it is a big city, but it's spread out. It's not like New York where everybody's on one city block. You can take one city block and spread it out, and you got Phoenix.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I was actually in Chicago 2 days ago, and it's a bit, I almost view it as like a combination of like a suburb type Phoenix City and New York, because you have the density Chicago area, but then you could go 20 minutes in a direction and it like levels out. It's more chill. You have more neighborhoods and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So before we get too much into our conversation here, I'd really like to start out with an attitude of gratitude, man. What do you have to be grateful for today?
Today, I am flying to California in a couple hours to go participate in a really meaningful program to me. It's called Warrior, and it's a training men, usually married men, but not always, and just helping them just achieve certainty and improve who they are as a father, a husband, entrepreneur, man. So I actually have been involved in this organization for many years, and now I'm going back to help train and help participate in the experience that has been pretty impactful for me.
Really? That sounds very, very interesting. That doesn't happen to be the one with Garrett.
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, I've been involved in it since 2015, and it has quite literally changed my life in so many ways as a Christian, as a leader, as a husband. And so yeah, I'm in a certification program right now. Mm-hmm. Where we're going back out there to become certified trainers within that organization and kind of the way they run things.
Yeah, that cat's really, really intense, man. I used to listen to his podcast quite a bit when I first got into podcast listening anyway. And really cool dude, man. I dig his style. I like what he has going on. I like his background too. Really good stuff. It's cool that you're a part of that organization and doing amazing things for men.
Yeah, thanks. I love it.
Yeah, that is exciting. That's a lot to be grateful for sure. So before we got, into the show, as I was talking about, I talked a little bit about what you do professionally, but here on Men of Abundance, we really like to get to know the person. We like to get to know the man behind the abundance. So if you would, fill in the gaps of what we don't know in your bio, and let's get a little bit personal.
Well, my entrepreneurial story, which you probably can find if you dig deep, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't in your notes, it started actually when I found out as a senior at Arizona State University that I was going to be a dad. And as you can imagine, as a 22-year-old, this is not necessarily the news you're quite expecting as graduation is approaching. But I knew that I was always going to be committed from an early age to be the best dad I ever could whenever that time came. And granted, it wasn't when I had expected it to come. I decided to double down on that and actually ended up, it wasn't immediately, but about a year and a half later, starting my first business out of that experience because I had this amazing job at Apple, wonderful company. I've been a big Mac fan forever. I can geek out on Apple stuff all day long. And got my dream job. I was working for them. I was like, this is amazing. So cool. But it was a corporate gig. And I had request time off forms and review manager meetings and processes that didn't make any sense that I thought were stupid and I wanted to change, which, not necessarily very high on the totem pole there to make that much change. And at the end of the day, I was so distanced from my daughter, who was never married to her mom, but at that early on, it was pretty limited time with her until I got joint custody. And so I was like, I have to get a better situation. Asking someone permission to get time off to see my daughter was like the most ridiculous thing in the world. And so I just started freelancing and doing creativity and design work and graphic design. And that set about 200 dominoes in motion to lead me where I'm at today. But it's purpose driven. My entrepreneurial story has always been purpose driven.
Yeah, it is really divine intervention. It's abundance mindset. that you and I are having this conversation right now, because we were introduced a while back, and you've been on my calendar for a little bit. And yesterday, my son is 18. He just graduated high school, and he's at that age right now where he's playing video games, and we're trying to figure out what the hell he's going to do. And I've got a military background. My oldest boy is in the military. He's not real excited about the military, but there's things he would like to do. But he's very, very much entrepreneurial. And so I was talking to him yesterday. I was like, look, dude, I don't care what you do. I just need you to decide what you're going to do and start getting at it, and not sitting around playing video games. It's, the whole teenage thing, right? And his response was, well, what I really want to do is I want to, go to college or something, and I want to learn 3D design. I want to learn graphic design. And then I was prepping for today. This was early yesterday, and I often do I look at the people I'm going to be talking to. I look at them right away, make sure it's somebody I want to have on the show. That happened a couple weeks ago. But then I really got into what you're doing. I went to your website, Design Pickle, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Dominic is talking about doing this, and I'm going to have this conversation with Russ. So we're going to have a conversation after the show, because I'm going to want to find out, what you would suggest for him, because this is what he wants to do. This is ultimately the reason why he wants to get into it, is because he's got an idea for a physical product, and he wants to be part of the design of the product. And I told him, I said, you can hire people to do that. You don't need to learn every single aspect, but he's on the right track. He wants to know just enough to make sure that he's, able to, provide some feedback or whatnot. But what do you say to that?
Well, it's interesting because my background technically is industrial design, which is product design. So that's what I started with. Yeah. But what I found was kind of what you just mentioned, is that the product design itself is actually very crazy long career path. And my skill sets out of the gates in graphic design and more entrepreneur and business was far more marketable. And if you talk about what's going to get you paid sooner, it's not going to be going down on a path of industrial design, because that's very much I always look at it as like a very like tradesman type industry. You have to go into it. You have to be an apprentice. You have to study with someone and work with somebody and kind of build up a reputation as a product designer, because ultimately your job is to sell your ideas and get them made. And that takes a brand. You kind of have to be known as who this person is that's designing stuff. But graphic design is kind of, I think the bar to entry is a lot lower, in the sense that you could just make something and it looks cool, and it can take you an afternoon or an evening. And then if you have some marketing savvy around it and you're able to communicate or interpret other people's ideas, and that's ultimately, kind of a lot of the experience that I had, and the gift that I had wasn't in the tools. It was in listening to you, Wallace, and like hearing what you need, and then reading between the lines and being able to create something that served you or your business or your brand, and do it in a way where you're obviously like, I didn't even think of that. Oh my gosh, you read my mind. Like that's where the true skill set is. And that actually, if you want to give your son a leg up, have him go study PR and communications and just do the design classes on the side for fun, because that's going to give him a much stronger leg up, because that communication piece, it's frankly why Design Pickle, my current big business, is in business, is because a lot of designers are terrible at communication. They focus so much on the design, but they're terrible at client management. They're terrible at providing a good experience. And thus we've come in and flipped that, where we provide really good design. We're not winning international design awards for our work, but we have a world-class experience that's really reliable, and that's why we continue to grow.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And that's exactly in line with what I've been telling him over the years. Even my oldest boy, I was like, look, guy, you have to learn how to communicate verbally, written, and you have to know marketing. You have to know sales. Once you got those down, you basically know what a company needs, especially if you're going to go into that. So before we get into Design Pickle, and I really want to get into that because that just really intrigues me. It's really cool how you have that set up. I want to learn more about that. But before we get too much into it, really, because I know, and you already kind of alluded to one, kind of a little kick in the gut moment there when you found out you were going to be a dad. But along the way in building your business and going on and doing other things as well, I know everybody ends up having a kick in the gut moment, if not several. And I'd like for you to share one of those with us and really kind of make us feel that.
Well, it's unquestionably the day that my world fell down around me in 2011. And I was struggling with the alcohol addiction, drinking an incredible amount, which had led me regrettably into an affair. And all of that came to light. My wife found out, and it was right as I was, at the pit of my business, pit of my life. And I mean, there's no bigger kick in the gut than that. I woke up just surrounded by darkness, and I knew something had to change.
Yeah, that is a kick in the gut moment, and I can definitely feel that. What was the pivot point? What kind of made you turn all of that around and start making a difference, or, where did that go after that?
Well, I mean, it's not a quick story. I actually just wrote a book about this whole experience and a lot of it, but I knew deep down inside that this wasn't who I was, and frankly, drinking and the behaviors and the person that I became with that alcohol, with that addiction, was just not me. So I started down a very slow moving path, and which eventually led me to sobriety. I mean, that ultimately was the life hack. I called it the ultimate life hack. Everyone talks about life hacks, but this to me was the ultimate life hack. And that was to repair who I was, and for me to become the person who I knew I was. But that didn't change the fact that there was just a ton of damage in my relationships, both professionally and then with my wife and my family. And we went on again a different long path of marriage counseling, Christian counseling, just an incredibly challenging time, but one that ultimately my wife and I look back at and say, I'm really glad we had this so early on in our marriage, and that we were able to get through this and go through this, because it's, at the flip side, created like the world's strongest foundation between us, which we both admit. Now, I don't put any blame on my wife and for whatever happened, but we both admit that we had a very weak foundation when we loved each other. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the foundation of a marriage that was going to last 50, 75, 100 years, which we have since built.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and that's not always the case, and I commend you guys for that. I've been in a very similar situation, just young and stupid and gone all the time. It was not a good environment. My wife has always been the rock. There's no doubt about that. We wouldn't be this far, almost 25 years in, if it wasn't for her. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So good for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then dealing with alcohol, that's a whole different issue, because I didn't have that issue, but I grew up with that. Anybody who I see that has that sickness, I do what I can to lead them in the right direction, point them in the right direction. I'm not the guy to help them.
And it could be alcohol, it could be something else.
Yeah.
My book is called The Sober Entrepreneur, and it has this dual meaning of sobriety, both in the literal sense of my story with alcohol, but I see so many, and especially men, although it can happen with women too, addicted to other things, and often addicted to their business. And their addiction to that business and that lifestyle, that their own creation, is just as destructive, if not more destructive, over the long run to who they are and their family than any drug or alcohol could be.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah, most definitely. And I've having these conversations with so many men and women, for that matter. There are so many different addictions out there that very destructive, just as you said. Absolutely correct. So let's get into Design Pickle. How did that really get started? I know I read a little bit about it. I checked out your site. From what I'm gathering from it, it's kind of like a Fiverr or something like that, but you've got a set amount. It's like is it a membership type of thing and then you can just get as many designs as you need, for your business or whatever the purpose is?
Yeah, I like to think of it at what you come to after you've grown extremely frustrated with Fiverr or 99
Okay.
Designs. We're kind of like the next step for somebody. And what it is at the end of the day, it's a subscription-based graphic design service. And we match you with a dedicated designer. They're international. Our whole team on the production side's in the Philippines. We have approximately 90 full-time employees out there. And you get a designer and you share that designer with about 10 other clients. So it's no more complicated than that. Whenever you need something, you just email them. There's no limitations. There's no rounds or jobs limits or hours or tracking. There's always going to be an output like restriction, and just in terms of the complexity and the volume that you need every month. But yeah, we make it super easy for you to add a dedicated design resource to your team. And where that comes into play often, and I joked about the Fiverr thing, but a lot of times when businesses are growing or design needs are growing, you don't really have enough work for a full-time person, but you do need more help. And so you'll test the waters with these online services. And don't get me wrong, I actually thank Fiverr's and 99 Designs for clearing the way for companies like mine, because they've opened the doors to like international design sources. But those companies are incentivized by just the sheer volume of work that comes through their system. They don't really care too much about the relationship, because they just they just take a percentage off the top of whatever you're buying. Whereas we don't, we have everyone on salary, everyone is fixed rate. So our whole mission is to create a really good experience and get you what you need. And if that takes, 2 customer success people talking to you and figuring out what's going on, or marketing ideas that we need to go back and forth within our private Facebook group, we just have like a lot more resources that we provide to create a different sort of value to our clients.
Right, yeah, and I'm gathering based on what I see. So $370 a month. I'm gathering that this would be the type of client that would really be looking for your services is somebody who really, like myself, who creates a lot of content. I mean, I'm creating new episodes, 2 to 3 episodes a week, just in podcasting, and then I've got my blog as well, then I got my YouTube channel, and it's important to maintain that brand and maintain that same look, because I'm looking at some of the designs that you have on your site here, and actually I recognize kind of some of the graphics, as far as there's guys that I know that are they're maintaining that same type of design for all of their content, and it really makes a big difference. That way when you see that, it's like, okay, I know who that is.
Yep.
No matter where it's posted online.
Yeah, and if I could give one design tip of my 10 plus years of being in the industry, it's about having a consistent style and design or brand. That's kind of the way we look at it. But ultimately, anyone can use our service. But as you hit the nail on the head, like what we look for, or what's going to be the best value, who's going to get the most out of those $370 a month. Because actually, you could only do 2 projects a month, and to be honest, that's a great value, because you could easily spend that with a local designer on just a few hours worth of work. But when you have that established brand and you are regularly doing things, then our service, the ROI on it just skyrockets, because you can just send it, hey, here's this week's episodes, boom. And we output the graphics exactly as we've done the past 10 weeks in a row. And, oh, hey, I have this presentation. I need slides that are going to kind of match my style. And we just are always rolling with it. Not to say you don't, it's a month-to-month service. So we call them our happy cancellations, which are the people that sign up for 1 or 2 months. And then they're like, we love you. We're so thankful, but we're done. And you're just like, damn it. You need us more. But in reality, they just had one project or, a specific thing to use us for.
Yeah, because I used a similar service within the service that actually is the company that hosts my podcast. And I paid their design guys a couple months to really get my site where I wanted it. And then I just kind of maintained it after that. But that's just because I was, really bootstrapping. And kind of in a hurry and didn't want to try to do it all myself, and didn't have the skills anyway, didn't want to learn the skills. So I just needed it to get done, and that's all I needed at that point in time. But I'm getting to the point now to where I am creating so much content that I really need to, I'm creating everything by myself, and it's kind of hodgepodge, and I recognize the fact that I need to really start developing my brand, and people just that way when they see whatever graphics out there, they go, oh, that's Men of Abundance. I know who that is, and I'm going to go check that out. Type of
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
I dig it, man. All right. What are some good news stories, man? What are some, how are you guys helping other people out? And not just the thing I like about what you're doing is you're not just helping out companies and those who need graphic designs. You've got a lot of people on your team, and you've got people on your team from all over the world. And I dig that. And that's one of the things I really kind of like about the Fiverr model and all that kind of stuff, because they're giving people a chance to get their name out there and kind of get known. And I've heard over and over again, look, I found this individual on this platform, whether it's a personal assistant, somebody editing shows or something like that. Once you find that guy, no matter where you found them from, you never want to let them go. So that's a huge help.
Well, so to dive right into your question, it actually aligns with what our vision statement is for Design Pickle, and that's to change lives through creativity. And what most people don't realize is, well, actually what you very astutely acknowledged is the easiest answer to that is we provide a really great service. And I have thousands of case studies of our clients where we've helped change their lives, from clients saying, hey, I was able to double my prices because my brand and my look and my style is so much more professional now, to I met a husband at an event we hosted last year that his wife was a client, but he was there at the Infusionsoft conference, and he's like, you have no idea how you've freed up my wife to focus on her gifts and her talents, which was coaching. She was a coach, but she was so consumed with the design side. So that's I have endless amounts of those case studies. But what most people don't realize, and it actually kind of is a very sensitive topic for me, because we get a lot of hate messages and people on social media who really attack us, and I call them the underemployed design community. It's the designers who are saying things like you're destroying the fabric of the universe with the product and service, discrediting who designers are. And it's happens enough to now I don't get too bent out of shape, because on the flip side, we are literally changing lives of hundreds, when you count families, of people through the employment that we offer. Because what you don't know about Fiverr, and you don't know about 99 Designs, and you don't know about corporate gigs, is that they average out to be about $1 to $2 an hour per job when you're working on them, if you're an international designer. And our starting rates are $6 to $7 an hour, which is almost minimum wage in the United States in some states. And we have incredible promotional opportunities. So we have a whole organizational structure where people can grow their career, and that's unheard of, especially as a designer, where if you're a designer, your growth opportunity is start your own thing. That's your growth opportunity. Sometimes you get lucky and you can move up the ranks within a big company or a big corporation, but it's far and few between. So the amount of houses people have purchased, the healthcare plans we offer, the babies have been had, I don't know if made, but they've been born, and we support that through our healthcare options. It's mind blowing. And I would say we're probably one of the larger, if not the best in terms of quality of life to graphic design employers in the world. I mean, we're just growing and growing.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I didn't know all that. And I kind of gathered some of that, but full-time employees, I mean, who does that anymore? That's right. Seriously, that's super amazing. And then because most people, even Walmart doesn't have full-time employees other than their executives. That way they don't have to offer any health care or any of those other benefits you just mentioned. And that's huge.
And I want to put it so because of their international classification, technically they are 1099 employees. They work from home, they provide their own hard. What we voluntarily provide those other things. So we have a reimbursement program. That's the way we don't actually, we tried looking for a healthcare insurance plan in the Philippines. Let me just tell you, if you think insurance is bad here in the United States, try going looking internationally because it is impossible. But so we created our own health insurance plan for our team. We have paid vacation. So we provide all of the luxuries of full-time employment, even though I don't have to. Like literally, I wouldn't have to. I can just issue my 1099 payment, file it. It's legal. Everything is compliant with the IRS. But we decide to do all these other things because we're so committed to that vision.
Man, that's amazing. And thanks for clarifying that. I really appreciate that. And thanks for what you're doing. That's really amazing. I dig that a lot. And you're one of those guys that are going to go to the top of my list as far as companies are concerned, because I have these conversations about people are always posting on social media or having conversations about all of the corrupt corporations out there. And I'm like, yeah, well, there really aren't as many corrupt corporations as there are amazing companies out there doing amazing things for their employees and the communities. They just you don't hear much about them because that's not news, because it's not bad news type of thing. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. I'm going to keep that in mind for sure. So Russ, we're at the point in the show where we're going to pay it forward to our men of abundance. You ready to do that?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for this part.
Excellent. All right. Glad to hear that. So share 1 to 3 actionable steps that our men of abundance can take today.
Well, one, I'm sure it's been on your show before. It's meditation. I literally meditated before I came on the show. And for me, it is a daily habit that is as impactful, if not more so, than physical exercise. And so for me, it's 20 minutes, no more, no less, every morning. Sometimes I have to cheat a little bit and do it super early in the morning, which kind of can turn into a meditation nap. But that's, just if you're not woken up enough. But that's going to be the best one that I have. And my wife used to tease me for it. She was like, "What are you doing? Like, are you Buddhist or Hindu?" Or like she was, nothing against those religions, but that's not who we were. And funny side note, and I just consistently do it. I looked at it as working out for the mind. I'm working out on my mind. It's physical training for my mind. And then last summer, I was like, we were at this beach house in Laguna Beach, and I was like, "Where is Mika? Is anyone?" That's the kids. Like, "Have you seen Mom? Like, where's she at?" And I went out in the backyard and I busted her. She was meditating and she started doing it secretly, but she had given me such a hard time about it that she was like a little bit embarrassed. And now it's like one of those things. It's like, "Hey, did you meditate today?" It's like, "No, I didn't." It's like, "Yeah, I could tell. Like, you're kind of being a jerk. You should go meditate."
So what does that look like? How do you, so many people meditate in different ways. Some people use apps. Some people have a specific thing that you do. You just clearing your minds. And I do something very similar. I just don't necessarily call it meditating, I don't think, because I just really just sit there and clear my mind and kind of get into my quiet zone. I've tested everything. So when I tell you and your audience this, this is after years of A/B testing of times, days, durations, apps, all this kind of stuff. But my formula is when I get to work or the office or wherever I'm going to be working, if say I'm on the road and I'm going to a meeting, it'll be either in a car or at a park or on a bench, something before the day starts, but not at home. Not at home. And that's key. I have young kids, 1, 5, and 12. So meditating at home is basically I'm a target for interruption. That's all that I am if I'm sitting there. So once I get to the office, and then it's 20 minutes using the Headspace app. I like the Headspace app because it's a combination of nothing, silence, as well as guided meditation. I think the music and the binaural beats and all those other apps are nice, and they're more I'd rather have that if I'm getting a massage, like where you live in Hawaii, but I don't necessarily find that's helpful for clarity and focus, which is what ultimately I want out of my meditation sessions. All right. Okay. Yeah. And I've heard of Headspace. I know quite a few folks that
use
it. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm gonna have to.
It's free. You can do. I mean, no relation. I'm not an affiliate of Headspace, but you could download it. Get it for free, I think, for 10 lessons. And then it's like one of those subscription apps you can buy past that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. So other than meditating, what other daily habits make up the biggest impact in your life?
Well, we've actually hit a lot of it with the gratitude component. Gratitude for me, daily gratitude, and physically writing it out is something that is one of those things where, and the action of it, the daily action of it, it seems inconsequential. It's not like meditation where I'm done with meditation and I open my eyes and I have this like rush of endorphins and I just feel really great. Every morning when I write down in my journal like something of grateful or gratitude, even if it's repetitive, I'm very thankful for my wife for watching the girls while I'm traveling. I look back at the mindset that I have when I see that and I do that over and over and over versus when I don't do it, and it's like I'm a completely different person. And I find that active gratitude written out on paper, not just, oh, thanks, coffee, Starbucks guy, that was fast. As in the fleeting moment, you actually think about it. That is sets just up a chain reaction of positivity and like the title of your show, like abundance, just knowing about this abundance concept that you're just always thankful and always plugging into so many great things around us.
Dude, that is spot on, man. I'll tell you what, when I'm not writing down in my journal, when I'm not journaling, and when I am journaling on a regular basis, and there's sometimes, I'll get away from it for a little bit, but when I'm journaling, I'm always writing down my gratitude. It's the first thing I do. Something simple, just like you said. And the first thing in the morning, I'm thinking of it in my head, but when I write it down and when I'm not writing it down, I don't really notice too much of a difference. But when I am writing it down, the difference is just in my face. Absolutely in my face. It is huge. And that's where this whole Men of Abundance concept came from, was from me just finally realizing the abundance that's in my life and then started writing it down and journaling about it. And then so much more comes into my day, into my week, and it's very visible. So for those of you out there, guys, who are not journaling and not writing down your attitude of gratitude every single day, I start my morning with it. You don't notice the difference, but once you start doing that, you are definitely going to notice the difference, without a doubt.
Yeah. And can I level up the gratitude journaling? It's also throw in a mantra. Throw in a mantra or something that you like, who it is you're wanting to be, or the direction you're headed in life. I always started, when I started Design Pickle in 2015, we started at $0 in revenue. I had no money in the bank. It was the most startup bootstrap experience ever. And my mantra in my journal was, I am $1 million CEO. And that's all I had. And I had a few other things I would change out, but that was the core statement. I'm $1 million CEO, and I had some things. And then like magic, 16 months into it in 2016, we broke the $1 million mark. And I was like, holy crap. On one side, I was like, I feel exactly the same. I'm just the same guy. Like I thought there was gonna be confetti or balloons or like something exciting, but no, it was just another day. But that it came true. And I mean, it was like almost, it's just so crazy how that happens. And I have we just moved 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, and I went through journals of years of journals. And Wallace, I cannot tell you, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about this. I looked through those things. So much of what I had written down had come true. Like almost like if I wrote it down, it's a cosmic chain reaction, fueled by God to deliver it to me. So if I just write it down, I get it. It's amazing. But it was nuts. From the house, even from like the size of the house to where we were living, I put that in my journal 4 years ago, not even ever thinking that we were going to move into this area. I mean, it was nuts.
Russ, I kid you not, man. I've got this huge smile on my face right now because just last night I went through my bag, and if I don't have one of my journals with me, if I just have a thought, an affirmation that I want to write down, or something that I heard, I write it down, or something that I want to accomplish, and big or small, whatever it is, and I just write it down on whatever piece of paper I can grab. I keep 3x5 cards in my truck, and I'll just write it down real quick. And I went through this huge stack of all these little clippings and papers and 3x5 cards. And I was separating them out because I was trying to clear it all out. And I was like, oh, did that. Okay, I'm going to keep this one for later. Not there yet. Did that. And exactly the same thing. But make no mistake about it, guys. There's work to be involved as well. It's not
Correct.
just these positive affirmations and just sitting in your house and never doing anything and reaching out to people and talking to people that might be able to affect your goals and aspirations. You got to do the work too. But when you are journaling and you got these positive affirmations, you have a clear goal of what you want to do and where you want to go, the ideas and the creativity and the people that can help you get to where you need to go appear. Many of them are already there. You just don't realize it until you put it out there. And it absolutely 100% makes a huge difference. So what are you reading or listening to now that you would recommend to our abundant leaders, and why?
So I'm going to recommend two things. One is totally self-serving, but the first is in relation to this journaling, abundance, mindset conversation. The 5-minute journal is what really created the snowball effect for me into getting into this habit of journaling daily. It literally is 5 minutes every day. So for anyone who's like, oh, I can never do that, I'm too busy or whatever, I mean, you could do this. And it's like a Mad Libs. You remember Mad Libs? You put in the verb, the noun, and you create a silly story. Well, it's kind of like a Mad Libs for your day. What are you thankful for? What's your mantras? What are you accomplishing today? And you fill it out. It's a 5-minute journal. You do it in the morning, 2 minutes, do it in the afternoon, evening, 2 minutes. That created for me the habit that continues to this day for daily journaling and all of the things we've discussed. I don't use that format anymore, but that was the boot camp for me to get into it. Now, the other item, which is just totally because I'm passionate, it's going to be the book that I'm coming out with very soon. It's Sober Entrepreneur. I say this book, let me say this before I mention the book. I'm not trying to be an author. I'm not trying to make money on this book. In fact, I'm expecting most of the book I'm going to give away. I'm trying to change lives around this topic of addiction and sobriety and entrepreneurship. So that's Sober Entrepreneur. It's you could find it on my site, russperry.co, and we're going to be launching that. I have the shipment of books in transit from China right now, coming in, being printed. They should be here any day, and then we'll have more information on getting a copy. And like I said, we're going to be giving away the first 500 copies for free. So it's just getting that out there to people to help hopefully change their lives as well.
Excellent. I love that. And I'll have that linked up at the show notes at menofabundance.com. So guys, make sure you go check that out. So what do you feel holds most people back from living a life of true abundance?
That's a really good question. In my experience, I don't know about most people because I'm not most people. I'm only myself. And I know it has always been the exact opposite of what abundance stands for, and that's living a life of scarcity, meaning you think there is only a pie out there that is so big, and there's only so many pieces to this pie, and if you have some of this pie, that means I can't have some of it, or there's just a limited amount. And I've experienced this growing up. My mom was a single school teacher, still is a single school teacher, but I was raised by a single mom, school teacher salary, where Christmas is where you either have this toy or we pay for football camp. You know, it was like very limited. And the reality is that's completely false. Pretty much anything in this universe, with the exception of time, is unlimited. And for us to ever think that, you know, you can't have a 1 million follower subscription podcast, I can't have that because you have that is ridiculous. We could all have the biggest brands, the biggest businesses, the biggest charities, the biggest anything in the world, because that's how abundance everything is. So getting past that scarcity, that limitation is ultimately what I see now, what is holding anyone back, even myself from time to time. I still fall into that.
Yeah, and you touched on the opposite side of what a lot of people talk about. Great answer, by the way, in that, you know, people say, you said, if I take a slice of this pie, then nobody else can have any. And that shows the giver side of you. You're definitely a giver. And a lot of givers think that way. They're like, well, I don't want to take too much because if I do, then others can't have any. Most people will say, well, I can't have any because he took it all. They have it all, and there's none left over for me or anybody else for that matter because he's so damn greedy. But the fact of the matter is exactly what you just said. There is more than enough to go around. Some people are really afraid of success for that reason because they don't want to act like they're greedy and have it all. And the fact of the matter is what makes a difference is what you do with what you earn. And money is nothing more than a tool. Resources are plentiful other than time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Great answer. So what does living a life of abundance mean to you, Russ?
Living a life of abundance is, honestly, for me, it's fulfilling my vision statement, and that's changing lives through creativity. My gift is in that world of creativity and creative ideas. And if I can take that to help others and pour into others and create that value for others, to me, that's abundance. That is, better than I could ever ask for. And it's having that abundance mindset, just like we were talking about, is knowing that there's never something that I can't accomplish. There's never something that I should be afraid not to try, and there's more than enough to go around. So the infighting, the it's mine conversations have no purpose or have no place in a life of abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I really like that answer. So we're going to close this up, Russ. And before we do, what did we not talk about that you want to ensure our men of abundance get out of our conversation?
One thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is, and I'm going to totally quote this, and I don't know where the quote came from, but it is, we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years or a lifetime. And all of that comes down to what is our daily actions, like what is the life of abundance? What are the habits that makes up our life of abundance? And so as far as like my parting thing is, I am always evaluating my daily habits and my daily actions and the times and the things that I'm committing to. And even going into this week, as we mentioned at the very beginning of the show, I'm going to be completely unplugged from my business, but I am thinking about what can I do on a daily basis to get the most value that I can then bring back to my teams, to people like yourself, Wallace, when I meet you and have conversations to you. And so I think it's, it's more of a reminder that no matter how far we've come, never stop questioning and learning and evaluating and looking at what you're doing on a daily basis, because those actions, those habits, those things that we're doing, that's what's going to place us on top of that mountain in the next 10 years. And so we could either think about it now and get to that mountain, or be in the valley looking at the guy on the mountain and being like, man, I really wish I would have thought about this a little bit more 10 years ago.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Absolutely. I think the first time I heard that quote, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 to 10. I think that was Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Yeah, okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's absolutely true. It's absolutely 100% correct. Most people, they come out of the gates running. They think I'm going to, accomplish this goal in a year, not realizing the work that it takes, get discouraged and quit. If they would have had the same goal and put a longer time frame on it, 5 to 10 years, it would have been more achievable. They would have planned differently and ultimately would have made it, to their goal, instead of going back to whatever it was they were doing, or just giving up on their dream and goals and aspirations. Right. Yeah.
Or accomplishing something that, let's be real, is pretty great. Mm-hmm. For me, that was getting sober. I mean, I could have said, I did it. Mm-hmm. I did it. Wallace, I've accomplished what I'm sober. My marriage is repaired. I got this. I'm fine. I don't need to push any harder. But I realized, that's not what life is about. Life isn't about kicking back and reflecting on our past accomplishments. That's for the history books, once we're long gone. But it's about, okay, where am I going next? And not being comfortable with with where you're at, not because you're not grateful for it, but because you know there's so much more inside of you that you can go out and accomplish.
Well, yeah, that's just the difference between success, significance, and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Is success is for yourself. I did it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. Significance is what you're doing for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then abundance is significance magnified. It's just, what you're doing, not just for your community or one other individual. What are you doing for other communities, just like you're doing with Design Pickle? You're really making a huge difference, and I commend you for that, man.
Well, thanks a lot.
All right, brother. It's been absolutely wonderful talking with you. I see us talking more in the future, and possibly having my son get in contact with you to get some tips and tricks and some ideas on what he can do with his young career.
Thank you. I'm very excited. Yeah,
it'd be my honor to link him up with somebody like you, man.
And just have him reach out. You have my email, so have him shoot me an email. Actually, if anyone, even though your listeners, have any questions, my email is russ@designpickle.com. I answer every email. May take me a little while, but I'll get back to it if you have any questions, and including your son, Wally. I'd love to hear from him.
Man, that's very generous of you. I appreciate that. I'll have that linked up in the show notes as well. All right, take care, Russ. Have a good day, and safe travels, man.
All right, thank you.
Now, guys and ladies, because I know you're listening too, I know many of you struggle with some sort of addiction. Not everybody, but there are many different types of addiction, from gambling, pornography, alcohol, painkillers, prescription drugs, you name it, all addictions. And if they're very destructive to your life, which I pretty much guess that they are, then you need to get some sort of help, professional help, anything that you can do. And I think personally that Russ's book might be able to help you out. And Russ shared his email, which I will have linked up for you in the show notes. But you can also get Russ's book at soberentrepreneur.com. I'll have that link up in the show notes as well. So go check that out. Because addiction is no joke, and everybody suffers from it differently. Everybody handles it differently. Everybody recovers differently. So find what it is that works for you and get your life back on track where you know it should be. Now, go out and live your life of abundance, and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.